Thanks for tuning into our seller interview series. Up today, we've got an Android and iOS mobile app business for sale. In fact, the seller's created quite a few of these and is selling them off individually on our marketplace. Created in September and October 2015, these individual apps make between $500 and $6,000 per month and range in pricing from $13,000 to $138,000. The listing numbers for these apps are 40439 through 40446. Now, we do these interviews to give potential buyers more information about both the seller and the businesses they're looking to purchase. We hope these insights are helpful for you in making a buying decision. We've got the seller with us today to go through the business, cover everything from niche selection to traffic and monetization. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty on how these businesses work. Steve, thanks so much for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, man, let's do a quick summary. As I said, these were built between September and October 2015. The revenue on these, on the low end, there's one that makes $500 a month. There's another one that makes $6,000 a month, and this is a 3-month average. Expenses come in somewhere between $50 a month for the smaller one, about $200 per month for some of the larger ones. And again, you're making $500 to $6,000 a month, depending on the app. You've laid out a paid traffic strategy we're going to get into. You have a back-end system built for these, and each one of them includes a Facebook page, which they're going to use to market the business. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. From the get-go, we kind of built it to try to make as much of the process automated as possible because we wanted to build, 8 to 10 to 20 apps possibly in this category.
Yep. Cool, man. Well, let's do a quick introduction. I actually know a bit about your background. I'd actually love to have you on our podcast sometime because it's a really interesting story and kind of how you got started. We used to work together way back in the day, so that's kind of interesting. We know each other a bit, but for our listeners, for the people checking this out, can you tell them a little bit about your background and kind of building and running online businesses?
Yeah, when we worked together at a online marketing startup back in the day, back in like 2007, 2008, I think. And shortly after that, I left to start my first company, and I was just hustling. I was an online marketing consultant for a lot of bigger companies like Yahoo, Insider Pages, stuff like that, like really just trying to get my name out there. And I ran into Jason Calacanis, who's just like a big angel investor, startup advisor, and wanted to, get my name to him, somehow get him to know me. So I offered to do consulting for free. So I literally did consulting for this guy for about a year, driving 3 hours each way to consult for the guy, and just never asked for a dime, never even got anything except probably maybe my lunch bought for. And then he introduced me to my first investor, who happened to be Eric Schmidt, who was the CEO of Google at the time. So it worked out good. In the long run, hard work paid off. It was kind of a good strategy. I've started probably 3 or 4 startups now. I've been funded by Eric Schmidt a couple times, Google a couple times, and 3 out of 4 of my startups have all been acquired now. And so what I'm kind of doing, my goal is I've been kind of getting into like this little niche, like building small businesses, that don't need venture backing, that, grow from anywhere from $50,000 a month to $100,000 a month. And that's kind of what brought me to these apps. Is this is kind of a new area for me. I'm really experienced in the venture-backed startup industry, growing things to millions of dollars a year. And now I'm really finding and coming into my own in the, 2 to 3 person startups that, are bootstrapped and are really efficient with capital and automating as much as possible, because you don't have that big dream of being bought for $500 million, right?
Yeah. I love that switch from the VC model to the bootstrap model. And the other benefit is that you own the whole thing, right? So you don't have anyone on your board, you don't have investors all over you, you don't have when you do exit, you get the entire enchilada. So there's a lot of value there. So that's pretty interesting. And I know your background. I know some of the startups you built. I know that you had Gary Vee at one point was on board, and you've been pretty in the space. So it's interesting to see you kind of come around and be like, nope, I'm doing it myself this time.
Speaking of Gary Vee, like he actually owns part of these apps as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that's kind of like funny that you brought that up. I haven't even mentioned that to anybody, but yeah, I still talk to him. I was texting him last week.
Cool, man. So how did you come up with the idea to start these apps? Like, what was it that what was the inspiration for these?
Yeah, so the original app that kind of like grew out and branched out into these 8-10 different versions was a baseball trade rumors app. I'm a super big baseball fan. I've always wanted to kind of get into sports, and there was no real easy way to create to like browse baseball rumors. It was all kind of like blogs, or it was like ESPN and they only had ESPN content, or it was like Fox Sports and they only had Fox Sports content. And I wanted an easy way to open up my phone and just find out like all the baseball rumors that were going on. Like it really was that simple, and there was nobody built that niche. And I was actually on a plane back from San Francisco because I used to work for Google, and they would fly me up a couple times a week because I still live down here in Southern California. And Dave Morin, who I don't know, pretty big startup guy. He started Path. He worked at Facebook and Apple. He was an investor in a company called Circa, which is kind of like, summarized news for the day.
Yep.
And we were talking about it, and I was like, I really wish I had something like this for sports. And he happened to be on the plane with me, and he's like, well, you should probably do it then. So it really was that simple. We were just talking about companies he had invested in, what my passion was, because I was looking to leave Google at the time. And it really came down to just like, I should just do it. So the app had been around for a year before we started really, really thinking about a business model. And that's kind of like in September and October, we kind of broke the app out into like 8 to 10 apps, like geographic specific apps. It was for sports teams. And that's when we really started trying to monetize it. But it really came from a plane ride.
And it was something that you were interested in doing. You were interested in having yourself. You're like, I wish this app was out there. Why don't I build it? I've got the skills, and we'll see how it goes. Why? So I've got an idea on like why you chose sports. Obviously, that's something you're interested in. But why are you selling this business? Why are you selling all these apps now instead of just continuing to grow them out?
Yeah, so it's quite simple. I have 2 other businesses right now that are doing well. My fiance, she's a special needs teacher. She's a therapist. And we have 2 other apps together that help kids with autism and Down syndrome, and really want to kind of double down on that here in July, August, because we're going to be getting married soon. And it's kind of like, it'd be a cool adventure for us, we think, to kind of like double down and grow that business together, because that's kind of like been like a really cool kind of like altruistic dream of mine of like, the person I'm getting married to, we run this company, we could do whatever we want, and we make our own hours type thing.
Yeah.
And so it really just comes down to that. We have 2 other businesses, one for Down syndrome, one for autism, that are doing really well as well, almost using the same type of strategy. And we want to focus on those.
Cool. I know the autism business, you've had that a while, and it's cool to hear that that's growing. I know that's been a passion of yours. What do you plan on doing with this cash when you sell? Are you going to reinvest in another business? Are you looking at diversifying your investments? Like what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm really just doubling down on the autism and Down syndrome thing. I've been lucky enough to have a couple exits here before, or bigger exits. So it's like I have my kind of real estate portfolio down here in Southern California down. I have a good little nest egg, and it's really looking to like put this cash into user acquisition into the autism and Down syndrome areas.
All right, but let's talk about these apps. You built them September, October of last year. What was the trajectory? I mean, the first one, I'm sure you kind of fumbled through it a little bit where you're filling it out, but did it take off like the first month? Did it take a couple months to get up and running? How'd that work?
Yeah, it took off the first month. Once we got into the monetization strategy of like having other sports fans that own businesses sponsor the app, that was kind of the changing moment where we realized a lot of our users who were 30 to 55 years old with high net incomes were typically the people using the apps. And that's because like these are guys who are still sports fans from when they were kids. They don't have time to read every single article. They just want to be kept up to date on all the rumors or news that's going on for their favorite sports teams. So it kind of already lends to the crowd that's maybe not going to sit and read blogs, but just wants to be kept up to date.
Yeah.
So, and then a high percentage of those compared to other demographics are business owners, right? They're later in their life. They own small businesses, or they're professionals like real estate agents, notaries, what have you. And so once we switched from a Facebook ads driven revenue standpoint, where we audience network, to having the fans sponsor the app and have their business featured on the app, that's when like it really changed course. And literally within the matter of a couple weeks, we had like a couple $1,000s in recurring revenue.
How much were you making with just the ads, the native ads? Like, was that like nominal, and then it totally turned around?
It was $800 a month.
Okay. Okay. So you're making $800 a month with the native ads, and where you really made your money is the people that were downloading this app and using this app. You had some of them reach out to you specifically and say, look, I'd love to advertise my business on this app, and their
It was,
business.
yeah, it wasn't even that they reached out to me specifically. It was that like I just had a hunch because when I worked at Google, I was lead program manager for global small business revenue. So I dealt with like a lot of analytics and demographics about like who was a small business owner to Google, right? And when you deal with that many advertisers, like getting 5% increases, 2% increases with any data that you can, makes a big difference to Google. So once I started seeing these trends of who was using our app, I just had a hunch based on my past experience. Like these are business owners, right? Like these are professionals. Like these are people who either like are like a main manager in their business or they are the business owner. So literally, we took our ad campaign that we were using to get downloads. We took the ad campaign. We then simply added the demographic of small business owners to that ad campaign, and then instead of a goal of trying to get downloads from the campaign, we try to get people to apply to have their businesses featured. And literally, we did that one day, woke up the next morning, 150 businesses applied to feature their business.
Awesome. And then, so you've got the people that are using it. Some of the people that are using it are the actual business owners themselves, but you found a way, we're not going to get too much into this, but you found a way to basically target local business owners and then get them signed up to advertise on the app directly. And that's really how the app makes its money. So let's talk about the business model a little bit more. So when they sign up, what you're retargeting them, they sign up. It's a monthly recurring fee they're paying you to get advertised. Like who comes up with the creative? Like how does that work?
Yeah, so they pay $50 a month, minimum 6-month advertiser agreement. And basically they come up with the creative. We have banner ads at the bottom of each story, typical size ratio that you would see on any app, except we're serving it ourselves versus using a third-party ad network. Right when the advertiser signs up, they get an email for a dashboard. They can log in, change their ad at any time, and they're live within 10 minutes. It's really that simple.
Cool. So they have a dashboard they can log into. They can change their ad. Obviously, they can view their ad in the app on their own. It's just automatically billing them. Do you bill the full 6 months up front, or is it month to month?
It's month to month. We do have some that opt to pay up front. When they do pay up front, they get the second 6 months free. So we do have some that do that, but the large majority are just on a recurring basis.
Cool. Okay. And then how is it determined which ads get played? Is it just totally rotating? How does that work?
Just rotating. It's literally just a carousel. And the biggest thing to understand about these advertisers is they're not in it for like, we don't even have analytics. We don't really have anything past like a place for them to create their ad. It's a very emotional buy. It's very much a pride thing because you're talking about, let's say you have the Lakers. You have someone who loves the Lakers. They've been in love with the Lakers since they were a kid. They just happen to be a business owner now. And once they use this app, they understand it. They get it. It makes sense. They understand why other Lakers fans would want it because they want it. Because it really is, aside from the advertising part of it, a genuinely good app with 5-star ratings that people love, and it keeps them up to date on the news. And they see it and they're sold. There's no big long sales process. It's like, when we talk to these customers, it's a 5-minute sign up process.
Yeah, and it's $50 a month too. It's kind of, you could do that as a business owner. You could do that almost, well, actually on an impulse buy, right? It's like, look, I like the app. It's kind of cool. I want to be there. $50, done.
Exactly, and it allows us to, before we were worrying, as a business owner of these apps, I'm worrying about how do I get users to come back, and then you start getting in that trap that other apps and other news sites get into, which is like, how do I create better clickbait? How do I, create better share bait? You know what I mean? Like, how do all these things that really don't mean you have a better app?
It's
just
not helpful. It's yeah. You're not thinking about how to actually make the content better. Talking about content, like how is the content created? Are you sitting there every day writing the content for this app? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so we have a system where we custom built a system where we go and we find all the popular blogs and all the popular news sites. So like ESPN, of course, Fox Sports, CBS Sports, Yahoo Sports, and then also all the little mini blogs that are niche to like each fan base, right? So I'm a White Sox fan, so there's like SouthsideSox.com, like something you wouldn't have heard of before. And our system goes out, grabs the latest articles every single hour, grabs the image that they're using, and takes an excerpt of like maybe like the first like 250 characters, right?
Yep.
And basically, like, our value is we're not going to create content for you. We're just going to make sure that you never miss content. And that's the main key because, I mean, if you're talking like if you're a Lakers fan, there's, 12, 15 primary news sites that are reporting all the same day. And so our system really takes care of all that, make sure you have it. And if you've already read it or you don't want to read it, it's as easy as skipping over an update like you would in your Twitter feed. If you want to read more about it, we link to the original source. They read it right there. So it's really a tool for these people to keep up on the news.
So it's scanning. I can go through it. I get a little bit of information. I can dig deeper if I want. That sounds great. So your system, and this is a custom system that you've built, if I'm buying this app from you, right, I need to go out and find those niche sites, put them in, and then it'll automatically pull from the, RSS feeds or something?
Yeah, so we already have all that. So if you, like, let's say you buy one of our apps, and it's already obviously set up with 9 or 10 sites. So let's say you start finding more sites. It's as simple. You go in the system, you add the URL that you want it to pull from, and it pulls from it automatically. And you could stop, pause, all that kind of stuff. You could even put it, we have it set up on auto run system right now. If you wanted to do more of a curation type thing where you want to, see the article before it goes in the feed and you have to approve each one, you could do that too. So there's a bunch of different ways where you can, if you want to get more editorial with it, you can do that. If you want to stay hands off and just keep it status quo, you can do that too.
Cool. Okay, so I can have an auto run. I can curate them. I kind of like that. And for the app, you might want to do some of that. But I can pause the different feeds if I want to. So the buyer, they will have to go ahead and put in the URL, but that's pretty straightforward. They're going to see what it looks like, make sure it looks good, and then they can publish it, and it'll be part of the app. Is there anything that you did building these apps that you learned that was new that you think you can apply to other businesses that you build in the future?
Yeah. The biggest thing that I've learned, and it really stems from learning from it from autism and from Down syndrome, and that's kind of like I don't want to make it like sound like so trivial, but it's when using Facebook to target customers, whether it's advertisers or subscribers to an app or a training system or what have you. Fanatic fan bases are definitely the way to go. And that's kind of what we learned is when we were doing autism audience responded to Facebook ads better than I had ever seen. And you're talking from a guy, let me just put it this way. When I'm dealing with fanatic fan bases, whether it's about sports teams or whether it's about like maybe a syndrome that your child has and that you're fanatic about it because you want to know more because it affects your daily life, right?
Yeah.
I've never seen ads respond and work that well in my career. And you're talking from a guy that like I ran SMB revenue at Google and I haven't used Google ads in a year and a half.
Yeah.
Because the audiences respond that well. And it's
they're just engaged, right?
100%. I mean, you're talking about we would have for every 100 clicks we would have on an ad in either of these areas, whether it's autism or these sports things, we were getting 15 to 20 shares of the ad. Like people were sharing our ad to all their friends, which is kind of crazy to us, right? Like you don't have that in Google.
like these are the types of apps that if it went down or if it wasn't working for them, they'd be pissed. They would get on Facebook and tell you it's not working or whatever, right?
Exactly. And so we did a test. We're testing another app right now for healthy living because people are super fanatic about that, like yoga, fresh eating, non-GMO, you know what I mean? Especially here in California. And literally the first month is looking just like these apps as well. It's like you're finding a fanatic fan base that loves what what their lifestyle's about, and they will respond to ads or they will respond to promotions as long as you put it in front of them.
So let's talk about the traffic and earnings a little bit. I think I understand the business model. I think our listeners probably do as well. There's kind of two sides to it. And the easier one from what you're saying is that obviously the Facebook app downloads. I mean, you're getting app downloads via Facebook. That's one side of your market, right?
Yeah, that in the original, we haven't done Facebook ads for downloads in quite some time. But yes,
to seed it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so that's another thing that the buyer can do, right? They want to seed it, they want to grow it, they can continue to do that. And then on the back end, you found a way, and this was a big win for you, is you found a way to find the advertisers, and the advertisers started responding. And the way you do that is to target the advertisers via Facebook as well, right?
Yes.
What are you paying to pick up an advertiser right now?
Yeah, so it's pretty. I have a contract with an outsourced sales team because, again, I don't, we want to keep the team small. There's only a couple of us running these apps. And so the sales team has actually agreed to pay the lead cost for the advertiser, and then they get a percentage of the recurring revenue going forward, right? And so it's costing us literally nothing up front, but I mean, the gross cost to get a lead for an advertiser is maybe $5 to $8, and
What are you giving up in percentage?
I'm giving up half on the back end.
Okay, so half on the back end, and the lead costs are, you said $4 to $8. Is that right?
Yes, but
they're paying that. Yeah,
they're
yeah.
paying that, so the net's zero. Yeah.
So you have a call center, basically an outsourced call center that you work with. That people go through the process. They want to sign up. They talk to the call center, and this is outsourced. This will be included, obviously, with the deal.
Yes.
And they get 50% ongoing on any of the contracts that they sign up, and they're happy with that deal. How are they paying for the ads? Like, isn't that under your Facebook account? How does that
It's
work?
under our Facebook account, so that's our strategy. Like, we don't want them to have access to the ads, right?
Yeah.
We run the ads, which, the campaigns and everything, when we sell the site to the buyer, we'll set that all up for them, like set the campaigns up and everything. And then we net out at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Basically, like, because they're signing people up. We're sending them leads every day.
Here are the accounts or here's all the money we got from it. We'll take your half minus the, $60 we spent this month on Facebook or whatever. How
Exactly.
much, and the cost I mentioned earlier, I said somewhere between $50 and $200 a month per app. Is that all Facebook spend?
No, all that because the Facebook spend nets out to zero. I mean, the $50 to $200 an app is from hosting charges and just email support,
Yeah.
right? Like
Okay.
so to kind of give you an example of how much email support there is, usually like any company, like you leave on Friday, you come back Monday, and there's a lot of requests because it's been little over 48 hours,
Yeah.
right, since you responded to anybody. We have like over 1,600 advertisers across all our apps. This Monday, we got in from a weekend, and we actually took Friday off, and there was eight emails we had to respond to.
So not bad. Who handles those emails now?
We do right now.
Okay.
We just respond. It's just email support. We have a phone number that they can call, but all it does is like they leave a message and it forwards into our email help system.
Yep, and that's 8. You had 8 contacts across all of the apps.
Correct.
Okay, cool. All right, so I think I got a pretty good idea on how you're getting the users, how you're getting the advertisers. I know what the cost breakdown is. I know how you're getting the sales and what your agreement is with the sales team, and the buyer is going to get that agreement as well. And if you talk to the call center, they're happy to carry those agreements over to the individual buyers, correct?
100%.
Cool. I'd imagine they would be because they continue the business, right?
Yeah, and to them it's really great because typically call centers aren't a lot of call centers aren't equipped with hot leads. Like if they do have leads at all, a lot of them cold call.
Yeah.
If they do, they're kind of like older leads. It's like a lead list. It's not even really leads. It's just people who might be interested.
Yep.
These are literally people who applied on Facebook, gave you their name, email, phone number, their favorite sports team, and when to call them less than 24 hours ago. So that's why the process is just such a really good fine-tuned machine, because it goes from they applied at 9 o'clock last night when they're off at work and at home with their family, and the sales team is calling them at 10 a.m. the next morning to sign up.
Let me ask you, Steve, do you think, obviously you're splitting the recurring on this 50-50. Let's say I buy one of these apps, and it's right now we're saying it makes, $3,000 a month. So I'm buying one of the ones that makes $3,000 a month, right? Mm-hmm. I take this over, I cut them. Obviously I'm not going to cut them out. They have to continue with the agreement on the ones that are already signed up. But if I cut them out, I might do a better job calling those people directly than the sales team would, right?
Oh, 100%. And you would, because when you're a business owner, this, like you're more enthusiastic
than a call center agent. I'm sure the call center agents are happy to be calling people that are actually interested in signing up, that aren't like just a totally cold lead. It's not straight up cold calling. So they're happy to do it. But you as a business owner, like you're saying, is probably going to do a better job in selling these. So they would have to honor the agreement that is on the old customers, but new customers, they could take that over if they wanted to.
Yes, exactly.
Cool.
Exactly.
Let me ask, pretend, Steve, that you're buying one of these apps. So let's say you're buying the one that makes $5,000 a month right now. What would you see as kind of the biggest opportunity? If I'm buying one app, I want to take this over, like in what ways could I expand it? What would be my best bet there?
Yeah, so there's kind of two ways you can go with it. I mean, one's how you explained, which is like if you want to kind of like, I just want to make sure this thing always makes 5 grand a month forever, right? The easiest way is like, hey, I'm just going to sell them myself. I'm just going to sell, a couple people a month. Very, very easy. I don't have to split the revenue. And then over time, you'll start making more because you're not having to pay that split out. So it'll grow from 5,000. The second thing is, if you just have cash flow that you can also put into this, you can simply ramp up the amount that you're going to spend on that you're going to, a Facebook lead you're going to do and send them more leads and they'll attack those leads. I mean, it really is just like a cash flow game of like paying the leads, giving it to them, they get the customers and then netting out every month. And if you can, slowly stair step that, like with any business, you know what I mean? Have, good growth that you can afford. It's worked for us. That's how we did it. We grew from, September, we had no recurring revenue to now all across the apps, there's close to $50,000 in recurring revenue in about 4 months.
Yeah, I think so. That's a big one. I think obviously step it up in terms of, well, I would go back to advertising for the users, right? Try to get some more users via Facebook ads. Obviously, getting the call center more leads so they can call and get more advertisers. I think that's important. Did you put any cap on it, or the advertisers weren't that worried about that, right? That wasn't a big issue for them.
No, well, they're not that worried about it because they're not
They're not
expecting.
counting the leads and trying to like work out their ROI on their $50.
Exactly. I relate it to people, and I know we have people all around the world and so like that, but I relate it to like when businesses sponsor little league teams.
Yeah.
Right. They're not like, I hope my logo looks good enough so people can, call it when they see that.
I didn't get my 10 leads this month, man. I'm dumping my fee for the
They're
team.
just kind of like, that's my team and that's my business.
Cool. Okay. So I got a good idea on the opportunities. Let's talk about the risks for a potential buyer. So thinking about this, I mean, it's recurring revenue. That's fantastic. I guess if they didn't take over, if they didn't fully understand the model, couldn't take it over. What about a technology problem? So let's say there's a problem with the platform and it breaks down on them. They have to get a custom developer in there. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so obviously within the first 6 months, if like any bugs happen, like we updates and stuff, we'll take care of that for them. Like, as long as it's like not done by them, it's something that like, maybe a Heroku update happened or a Ruby update happened. Yeah, so the downside could be like 6 months from now, if something goes wrong, you have to hire a developer. Again, our system is pretty cleanly built. I built a lot of these systems before. So there's not as many moving parts as you would imagine in a business that's doing this much revenue. And that's because just like we've simplified it. Another risk could be, Facebook leads costs go up. Something happens in the small business economy in the United States where, it's less people are willing to advertise. So I'm really, economic
You're reaching
downturn.
there a little, but yeah.
Exactly. It really comes down to how long have people liked sports forever, and a certain percent. How long have people owned businesses forever? And when you have that intersection right there, people who like sports and who own businesses, that's the niche, right? And until now, you've had to either sponsor something at the stadium, tens of thousands of dollars, or run TV commercials during the game,
Yeah.
Tens of thousands of dollars. And we come in right there and provide a little, very, very small stopgap for them, which is $50 a month.
I love it, Steve. You're a good salesman, man. You're something like I'm fired up about these apps. Really interesting. One of the other ones one of the other things that I have a question about is you haven't hit a second cycle with these advertisers yet, right? So you're not sure yet how many of them are going to stick. What happens at the end of the 6 months? Do they go month to month?
It reverts month to month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is recurring. They have to call to cancel. Do they call that same call center to cancel? Is it handled the same way?
No, they call us or email us.
Okay. So it's only email. Do you have a phone number they can call? Do you get any of those calls?
Yeah, so we have a phone number they can call. We don't answer it. They just leave a voice message and it goes
email.
that forwards right into the email support system. And then obviously I'm not saying we never call people, because we do, when sometimes like it's just providing good customer service like you would any business. Like when you need to call, you call.
Yep. Cool. Let's talk about the work required. So if someone buys this, what are they doing on a day-to-day basis? What are they doing on a weekly basis? What are they doing on a monthly basis?
Yeah, so day-to-day basis, you're simply monitoring your recurring billing. We have spreadsheets that we do that on. It really is that simple, where it's like, we know how many people are going to bill on any certain day. We have Stripe. So
Using Stripe for these. Okay.
Yeah. So every single day, We just make sure people build who build. You're going to get people who decline sometimes. It happens, just like any business. You give them a call, you shoot them an email, you get them to update their billing information, and then you might deal with, again, we deal with maybe 8 to 10 customer service emails a day across 1,500 clients, and that's across all the apps combined. So on any given app, maybe you're talking 2 emails a day.
Cool.
Okay.
Yep.
It's not much.
Yep, and then maybe once a week, maybe on a daily basis, you're checking the app, like kind of checking the content, making sure everything is good.
Definitely. There's a lot of room for growth. We don't syndicate the articles that we publish. So one of the ideas that we've had is they come with Facebook pages. So like the Chicago one has close to like 1,000 likes, and if you started putting big articles, big news stories, and, putting it through the Facebook page, and they're not just like, I know, like, oh, it has 1,000 likes. Like, well, these are real likes from real fans who like really love sports, right? Especially since we've never ran a Facebook like campaign.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you do anything organically with the Facebook pages, or are they just for the advertising?
No, so there's tons of potential there. I literally think our Facebook page for Chicago has 1,000 likes close to it, and we've never done a single organic post.
It's just randomly from the paid stuff you're doing.
100%, and it comes a lot from like we sign up these advertisers. And these advertisers download the app and then they tell their friends, because not only are they advertisers, but now they're like a spokesperson. They're like, bro, I'm on this app. It's called, XYZ, and you should download it. My business is on there, and it has all our favorite teams.
Awesome. Let's talk about the work required in terms of skills or requirements someone would have to do to take this over. I mean, my grandmother couldn't buy this app, right? That'd be bad. That'd be bad for her. But I mean, I'd say you need to know a little bit about Facebook ads, like, proficient, like you can log in, check them out. They're going to have to learn your system. They're going to have a Stripe or Recurly or some kind of account they can use to collect payments. Do each of these apps have a separate Stripe account?
They don't right now, but we've already talked with Stripe, and they will have it when a buyer comes along and buys, one of them.
You're going to pull them out. Okay.
Exactly.
Cool. And then you can just hand the Stripe account over. What other kind of skills do you think someone would need to buy this?
It really just comes down to if you are I think you can throw out all the skills if you can manage data, right? And you can like literally just like have a little like daily task sheet that you can go through 3 or 4 checklists. It really comes down to that, because that's how we run it. Like every single day we see who's supposed to bill recurring, how much did we bill recurring, who declined, and who do we call, and then we do that. And then it comes into how many leads do we want to get today? How many leads did we get today? And it's really a lot of it's on automation, because the stories are on automation, the recurring billing is on automation, the leads are on automation. So it really comes like if you have the self-discipline to spend, a half hour a day, going through stuff and making sure you don't miss it, that's really what it comes down to, is self-discipline and being able to manage stuff. Like we manage all our stuff in Google Sheets, right, in the cloud.
Yep.
So everyone has access to it. And I'm telling you, I'm not joking with you. Like I run most of this business on my phone, because on my phone, my home screen of my iPhone, I have my Stripe app, I have my Google Sheets app, and I have my Facebook ads app all right next to each other. And every single day, I just check all 3.
Yeah, sometimes you check too much, right? You're like,
yeah.
How much do you work? You're like, like an hour or 2 a day, except for all the time you're checking it just out of curiosity, right? That's the thing.
Yeah, because you get addicted to it.
Yeah.
Because a good example is like this month we're $1,000 ahead of where we thought we would be in recurring billing, right? And you're like, yes, like you want it to keep going. Like every day's like a lottery ticket, right?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't grow as fast as it was, even though it's way farther than you projected it would be,
like, what the hell? Yeah.
Like, oh, come on, man. Come on.
All right, man, let me ask some additional questions. I mean, one of the questions I have as a buyer is I'd want to know, I mean, this is a business that you could sell to me, or the app you could sell to me, and turn around and create 5 that are direct competitors. So as a buyer, I'd want to make sure that you'd be willing to sign a non-compete in that particular area for that particular niche. Is that something you'd be willing to do?
100%.
Cool. And then how much support are you willing to offer me? I mean, I think I'd need to get up to speed on the platform. I'd probably want the checklist of kind of things you do on a daily basis, and then kind of run through it. You said you'd offer up to 6 months. technical support, at least making sure that the system isn't broken, based on updates. Aside from that, what was it, 30 days email
Yeah,
support?
yeah, 30 days. I mean, we could jump on phone calls. Like, I'm a pretty easygoing dude, and I want whoever buys this to succeed.
Because you want the model. I mean, you're able to build these. You want to be able to, other people to take it and grow it and take it from there.
Yeah, and that's kind of my, my thing too. It's like during the summer, I run a nonprofit teaching kids how to make apps. Like, I'm really, really big into like, I want people to make money making apps. Like, I'm super anti 4-year college guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so just my personality alone. So it's like, I say 30 days, like, yeah, 30 days, like we'll hop on a Skype call. Like, I want to make sure you know everything, how to run it. So your life's awesome. But like, even past 30 days, like I'm on Skype. Like, you know what I mean? Like ask me questions, because I would do that normally just because that's my personality. Like, I want people to like be able to make better money, because I just, from a philosophical standpoint, like I really truly believe like if you can enable people to make better money and have happier lives, like the world would be better.
Absolutely. Yep, totally agree with you. So yeah, I think that's really cool. And obviously, you know your stuff, Steve. And I know this for a fact. I mean, I know your journey. I know some of the things you've done, and it's pretty legit. So let's talk about, if I'm buying one of the apps. Obviously, if I give you 100% cash up front, that's a great offer, and you take that in a heartbeat. If someone comes along and they say, look, I really like it, but I'll put 100% of the cash in escrow, but I want to do 70% up front and 30% after 30 days of training, or they want to do 60% up front and 10% over the next 4 months, is that something you'd be open to?
Yeah, I'm definitely open to it, especially after just talking to the guy or girl. You know what I mean? Like, whoever it is.
Yeah.
I feel like there's no reason. I'm not in a rush to sell them. Like, I want to sell them, right? So I can double down on this other business. But at the same time, I want to find the right person to sell them. And if the right person needs 30 days or needs 60 days, like, yeah, why not? Because again, I'm just blessed to like be in this opportunity to like, oh, cool, I made these things. They're doing really good. And I have kind of a repeatable system. So I'm stoked. It's not like these are my prized possessions and I need to get all I can from them in order to, go on living.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Steve. Well, let's do a quick wrap up. As I said before, the niche is sports, and these are mobile app businesses. They were built around September, October 2015, depending on the app. Again, about on the low end, there's one that makes $500 a month. On the high end, there's one that makes about $6,000 a month. As we said, these are all recurring. These are advertisers that are paying you via Stripe, is how you're collecting the money. The expenses are anywhere from $50 to $200 per month, depending on the app, and that's for hosting fees or whatever. You have an agreement with the call center where they're taking 50% of the recurring, but that's already baked into this pricing. So again, net profit on the low end, $500 a month. On the high end, $6,000 a month. It's mostly a paid traffic strategy, and you're doing Facebook traffic to get the advertisers and to get the leads to the call center. We've also done some stuff where you're using paid Facebook traffic to get users, but you've cut back on that. But that's an opportunity for a buyer. You have the backend system that you're providing them, where they have a dashboard they can log into and check it. And then each app comes with its own Facebook page. That's pretty bare, but they can use that to expand, and really you're just using that for the advertisers. Steve, if you give me your best pitch in the next 30 seconds on why someone should purchase one of these apps, what would you say?
Yeah, if you're looking for an app business that you can run from your phone, that you can expand, that you're fairly positive is as close to a low risk move as far as the audience and the niche that it's in. I mean, there's nothing more low risk than recurring revenue businesses that are focused on sports, which are always going to be around, especially in the United States, and especially like in an entrepreneurial country like America. Like, this is the app where you can be as hands off as you want. You don't have to touch it. You don't have to ever add any content, or you could be as hands on as you want, and you could be you could try to build this into like a nice sports content site. Either way, you can make it hands off, or you can be fully all in and grow it. This is the perfect app to kind of like start your little empire.
Awesome, Steve. If anyone's listening to this and you're on YouTube or wherever else you may be, there will be a link in the show notes. You can click over that. It'll take you to empireflippers.com and show you more information about that particular listing that's there. If you want all of the information about the business, would like to set up a call with Steve because you're doing your due diligence, you'd like to potentially make a purchase, and you're on the listing page, you can look in the top right-hand corner. You can make a refundable deposit. Once that deposit's been made, we'll put you in contact, and you can start your due diligence process towards potentially buying this app. Steve, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Take care.